It was a normal afternoon in the city. The sun was high, people were busy, and the streets were full of noise. Cars passed, people walked, and no one expected anything unusual. Then suddenly, everything stopped. A black man in a soldier's uniform stood quietly near a coffee shop. His name was Daniel Carter, strong, calm, proud, but something was wrong. Two police officers walked toward him quickly. "Put your hands behind your back," one of them shouted. People stopped and looked. Some took out their phones. Others just watched, confused. Daniel did not argue. He did not run. He raised his hands slowly and said, "Is there a problem, officer?" "You're under arrest," the officer said. "For what?" Daniel asked. The officers did not answer. Instead, they grabbed his hands and handcuffed him in public right there on the street. Gasps came from the crowd. An old man whispered, "Isn't he a soldier?" A young woman started recording. A little boy held his mother's hand tightly and asked, "Why are they taking him?" Daniel looked around. People's eyes were on him. Some looked angry, some looked sad, and some just looked away. His heart was beating fast, but his face stayed calm. As the officer pushed him toward the police car, Daniel spoke again. "Before you take me, let me make one phone call." The officers looked at each other. One laughed. "You think one call will save you?" Daniel replied quietly. "No, but this call will change everything." They gave him the phone. He dialed a number, slowly, carefully. He waited. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then someone picked up. A calm, deep voice on the other end said, "Daniel, are you okay?" Daniel didn't blink. "It's time." There was a pause. Then the voice replied, "I told you, if this day ever came, just call me. Stay calm. I'm on my way." Daniel ended the call and handed the phone back. The officer asked, "Who was that? Your lawyer?" Daniel looked at him and said, "That was the person you don't want to mess with." The police laughed again and opened the car door. Daniel sat down in silence, but something had changed. People on the street started whispering. The video was already on social media. "Soldier arrested without reason," the title said. In just minutes, it was being shared across the city. In a tall building across town, a woman in a black suit looked at her phone. She watched the video once. Then again, her face went cold. She stood up and said, "Get the car. Prepare protocol echo." Her assistant asked, "Ma'am, is it serious?" She replied, "That's Sergeant Daniel Carter. He once saved my life. Now I will save his." Back on the street, the police car drove away. Daniel sat quietly in the back seat, staring out of the window. His hands were tight in the cuffs, but his mind was clear. He had waited for this moment, not because he wanted it, but because he knew it might come one day. He had served his country. He had fought in war zones. He had saved lives. But here, in his own city, he was treated like a criminal. And yet he didn't shout. He didn't cry. He didn't fight. He just made one phone call, a call that would shake the system, a call that would make the city remember his name. The police car moved through the streets, lights flashing but siren off. Daniel Carter sat in the back seat, hands cuffed, back straight, eyes calm. He did not look scared. He did not speak. He just waited. Somewhere far from the city, deep in a government building, the woman in the black suit was moving quickly. Her name was Colonel Elena Rivers. She was not a politician. She was not a celebrity. But in secret rooms and high places, people knew her name. And when she moved, powerful people listened. Her driver opened the door. She got into the black SUV and gave one order. "Take me to the city jail. Now." Flashback. 2 years ago. The sun was burning hot. In a war zone far away, Gunshots echoed in the mountains. A rescue mission had gone wrong. Soldiers were trapped. Colonel Elena was one of them, bleeding, scared, and almost out of time. And then, through smoke and fire, Daniel Carter appeared. He was just a sergeant, not the highest rank, but he broke orders, entered enemy territory alone, and pulled 5 soldiers, including Elena, out of danger. She never forgot that. Daniel never asked for medals. He never told anyone. He just went home, quiet, proud, and alone. Back to present, Elena's car raced through red lights. Her face was cold. Her hands held a small folder, labeled Echo. She whispered to herself, "Why didn't he call me before this? Why now?" Meanwhile, in the jail, Daniel sat in a cold chair in a small gray room. 2 officers stood nearby, watching him like he was a danger. He didn't speak. He just closed his eyes, remembering another flashback. 3 months ago, Daniel had tried to get a job. He wore his uniform to the interview, full of medals and ribbons. The manager smiled and said, "Thank you for your service." But the next day, no call, no job, another interview. Same thing. Some people stared at him with respect. Others crossed the street when they saw him coming. He was a hero on paper, but invisible in real life. Back in the station, a young officer looked at Daniel. "You don't look guilty," he said. Daniel opened his eyes and answered softly, "Because I'm not." The door opened. A man in a suit walked in and dropped a file on the table. "This is bigger than you think," he said. "You were seen near a robbery." Daniel looked at him calmly. "I was at a coffee shop." The man replied, "Prove it." Daniel said nothing. He didn't need to, because help was already on the way. Inside the SUV, Colonel Elena was now on the phone. She said just one sentence, "Activate. Protocol Echo." Her assistant replied, "Yes, ma'am." She closed the call and whispered, "Let's see if they still remember who saved this country." Back at the police station, phones began ringing. 1, then 2, then 5. One officer walked in, confused. "Sir, there's a Colonel Elena Rivers outside. She says she wants to see the prisoner." The police chief frowned. "Who?" "She says you'll know her once you read this." The officer handed over a letter. Top secret, government sealed. The chief opened it. His face changed from proud to pale. He stood up fast. "Bring her in. Now." Outside the station, Elena stepped out of the SUV wearing her full military jacket. Her medals shined in the sunlight. The crowd outside grew. Some recognized her from old TV interviews. News vans were arriving. Cameras were rolling. But Elena did not stop. She walked inside like she owned the place. And maybe she did. In the interrogation room, Daniel still sat quietly. Then the door opened, and Elena Rivers stepped in. He looked up. Their eyes met. She gave a small nod. "You waited long to call me," she said. Daniel replied, "Because I didn't want to owe anyone. But today was different." Elena sat across from him. "You saved me once. Now it's my turn." The room was quiet. Daniel sat across the table from Colonel Elena Rivers. Her military jacket looked sharp, her eyes serious. Between them, a file lay closed, thick, heavy, full of secrets. She looked at him. "Do you trust me?" Daniel nodded slowly. "I trusted you once. You lived." She opened the file. The 2 officers standing nearby were told to leave. The door closed. It was just them now. Elena turned the first page. It was a photo. Daniel in uniform, standing next to a burning truck, pulling a wounded soldier to safety. The second page, a mission report. Top secret. "Operation Sand Viper," she said. "You remember?" Daniel didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes said it all. She continued. You were the only survivor who didn't talk. You followed orders. You stayed silent, even when the blame came to you. Daniel looked away. It wasn't about blame. It was about duty. Elena nodded. You lost your career for that. Your medals, your future. I don't regret it, he said. You should, she replied, because now they're using that silence against you. Flashback, 1 year ago, a closed-door military meeting, high level. Officers argued. A mission had gone wrong. Soldiers died. The public wanted answers. Daniel was told, take the fall, stay quiet, you'll be protected. He agreed, but they lied. Back in the present, Elena stood up. They forgot who you are, Daniel, but I didn't. She picked up the file and marched out of the room. Outside, reporters were gathering. Cameras were pointed. People whispered her name. The police chief stood nervously. Elena walked straight to him and held out the file. This man is not a criminal. He is a national hero, and you're holding him illegally. The chief opened the file. As he read, his hands began to shake. Inside were mission reports, classified records, and video footage from the battlefield. It was more than enough. It was too much to ignore. Meanwhile, outside the police station, crowds were growing. More people had seen the viral video of Daniel being handcuffed. News reporters spoke on camera. The man in the video is Sergeant Daniel Carter, a decorated war hero. Arrested in public. No charges yet. Signs started to appear. Justice for Daniel. A hero, not a criminal. Inside, the chief walked into the jail area. He stared at Daniel through the bars. You should have told us who you were, he said. Daniel replied, calm and cold. Would it have mattered? The chief said nothing. Then Colonel Elena entered. We're leaving, she said firmly. The chief tried to stop her. We need to finish paperwork. She showed him a special ID badge. This is not a request. Daniel walked out of the cell, free, but not at peace. Back in the SUV, Elena sat beside Daniel as the car moved through the city. You're not safe yet, she said. The file I showed them was only part of the truth. Daniel looked at her. How much worse is it? She handed him a flash drive. Everything's on here, she said. Every lie they told, every life they covered up, including yours. Daniel held the drive in his hand. It felt heavy, not in weight, but in meaning. The city was still. Midnight had passed, but something was changing. In a small apartment with old furniture and quiet walls, Daniel Carter sat alone. The flash drive lay on the table in front of him. It wasn't just data, it was truth. The kind of truth that could break powerful people. The kind of truth that could destroy everything. He had kept it hidden for years, not because he was afraid, but because he believed in following orders. He believed in loyalty, but loyalty had a price. And now, Daniel was ready to pay it. Flashback, military debriefing room. 2 years ago, a dark room. A long table, a group of high-ranking officers. Daniel sat at the end. One general said, "The mission failed. Media must never find out. Someone has to take the blame." Daniel was tired, bruised, but alive. He said, "What about the truth?" Another officer replied coldly, "Truth is not our mission, Sergeant. Silence is." They gave him a choice. Take the fall quietly, or face something worse. Daniel signed the paper. Back to present in the apartment, Daniel connected the flash. Drive to his laptop. Files opened. Documents, mission videos, voice recordings. One folder was marked, Echo, Eyes Only. He clicked it. A video played, video recording. Desert Mission Archive soldiers shouting. Explosions, screams. Daniel's voice came through. "This is Sergeant Carter. Enemy base is not empty. Civilians inside. We need to stop the airstrike," a voice replied from the radio. "Too late. Orders are locked." Seconds later, a massive explosion. Fire, smoke, silence. Daniel's face came on screen. He was covered in dust and blood, dragging two children out of the rubble. End of video. Daniel closed his laptop. His eyes were wet, but his hands were steady. They said he failed the mission. But the truth was, he saved lives and was punished for it. Meanwhile, in a government office, a powerful man, Senator Clark Reeds, watched the viral videos of Daniel's arrest. His assistant said, "Sir, Colonel Elena Rivers is involved now, and Daniel might release the echo files." The senator slammed his hand on the desk. "He promised silence." "He's breaking it." The senator made a call. "Start damage control. If those files go public, we all burn." In the city, Colonel Elena Rivers sat in her office, staring at her own copy of the files. She knew what was inside. She knew Daniel had stayed quiet to protect people, even the ones who didn't deserve it. Her phone rang. Daniel's voice. "I'm sending it all to a journalist." "It's time." Elena warned him. "You do this, they'll come after you." "I know," he said. "Let them." The next morning, news exploded. Leaked military files show civilian deaths hidden in secret operation. Hero soldier took blame to protect high officials. Why was Daniel Carter really arrested? The city was in shock. People protested. In the streets, signs read, "We stand with Daniel. Truth matters." Who gave the order? At police headquarters, the chief watched the news with shaking hands. He had arrested a hero. Now the world knew. He called the mayor. "We need to fix this." But it was too late. At Daniel's apartment, the street outside was full of cameras and people. Reporters shouted his name. Supporters clapped and chanted. Daniel stood at the window watching. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just watched, because this wasn't about fame. This was about justice. Then, a knock on the door. Daniel opened it. A young woman stood there, holding a camera and a microphone. "I'm Mia Khan, investigative reporter." "I know who you are," Daniel said. "I want to tell your full story," she said. "Not the Army's version, not the media's, yours." Daniel looked her in the eye. "All right, but once you hear it, you'll never look at this country the same way again." The morning air was heavy with noise. Outside Daniel Carter's apartment, a crowd had gathered. Protest signs waved in the air. Reporters held up microphones. Police tried to keep order, but the people weren't angry at Daniel. They were angry for him. "Justice for Daniel," they chanted. "He saved lives. He told the truth." Inside the apartment, Daniel sat on the couch, facing Mia Khan, the young journalist with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Her recorder was on. "Let's start from the beginning," she said. Daniel nodded slowly. "You want the truth? It's not clean. It's not easy." "I don't want easy," Mia replied. "I want real." Daniel took a deep breath and began to speak. Flashback. The real mission. The mission was called Echo, a secret operation in a small village overseas. Daniel and his team were told it was a weapons site. The order, "Go in, clear the area, and call for the airstrike." But when they arrived, there were no weapons, just scared families, women, children. Daniel called for delay. He begged for time. The order came back. "Proceed." Seconds later, bombs dropped. The village burned. Daniel carried survivors on his back. He lost friends that day, but when they returned, the report said, "Mission successful, no civilian presence." Daniel knew it was a lie. Back in the present, Mia's hands trembled as she stopped the recorder. "They made you take the blame?" Daniel nodded. "I was told it was for national security, but really, it was about protecting men in suits." Mia stood up. "This story, it's going to shake the whole country." Daniel looked at her serious. "Be careful. These people don't fight fair." Meanwhile, in a dark office, Senator. Clark Reeds looked at photos of Mia and Daniel, taken just hours ago. They're building a narrative, he told his advisor. We need to act now. The advisor asked, legal action? Clark shook his head. No. Send someone they won't see coming. The next day, Mia's story went live. Headline, he was told to stay silent. Now he's speaking for the dead. The article spread like wildfire. TV stations, social media, podcasts, all talking about Daniel Carter. Public reaction exploded. Veterans shared his story. Military families called for investigations. Celebrities tweeted support. A trending tag appeared. Truth for Daniel. In a press conference, Colonel Elena Rivers stood before the cameras. The man you arrested is not just a hero, she said. He's a survivor of betrayal, and now, the voice of those who can't speak. Reporters shouted questions, but she gave no more answers. She had said enough. That night, Daniel walked into a quiet cafe for a meeting. Mia was already there, waiting. Before he could speak, a man approached their table. He wore a black coat, dark sunglasses. Calm voice. Mr. Carter, he said, you've made powerful enemies. Daniel stood up slowly. Who are you? I'm someone who used to believe in the system, like you, the man said. But I learned the truth is dangerous when you speak it too loud, Daniel replied. So what, you're here to silence me? No, the man said. I'm here to warn you. They're watching. And they're not done. He handed Daniel a small note and walked away. Mia leaned over and read the paper. Trust no one, not even the ones in uniform. Elsewhere, Senator Clark's mansion. The senator met with 3 men in suits. We tried threats. He didn't. Back down. We tried silence. It made him louder. One man asked, what now? The senator stared out the window. Now? We take away the one thing he's using against us. The people. In the crowd. That night, during a peaceful rally, an explosion went off near the edge of the crowd. No one died, but panic spread. News said it was unrelated, but Daniel knew better. They're trying to scare people, he said. Trying to break the movement. Mia looked at him. What will you do now? Daniel's eyes were calm. What I've always done. Stand. Tall, speak truth. Protect the innocent. The sky was gray. A storm was coming. Daniel Carter stood near a memorial park where names of fallen soldiers were carved into stone. He placed his hand on one name, his best friend, Jake Thompson. Jake had died during Operation Echo. I kept my promise, brother, Daniel whispered. But now, they're trying to erase it all. Meanwhile, at a secret meeting room, Senator Clark Reeds was on a video call with a high-ranking military general. This Daniel problem is out of control, Clark said. The general replied, he has the public on his side. Then turn them against him, the senator snapped. Make him look unstable, dangerous, fake evidence if you have to. The general hesitated. He's one of us. No, Clark said coldly. Not anymore. Back to Daniel's apartment. Daniel sat with Mia Khan, the journalist. She held a new file. A source just leaked this to me. Daniel opened it. His hands tightened. Inside were doctored documents, fake mission logs, edited videos, and false reports claiming Daniel caused friendly fire deaths. They're trying to destroy your name, Mia whispered. Daniel shook his head. No, they're trying to confuse the people. On the news that evening, a breaking news report aired. New reports suggest Sergeant Daniel Carter may have falsified information about Operation Echo. Military officials are launching a full investigation. Daniel watched it quietly. Mia turned to him. You need to respond. No, he said. Not yet. The next day, Elena's office, Colonel Elena Rivers slammed a folder on her desk. This is garbage, she yelled at the officer across from her. Daniel Carter risked his life for the truth. And now you're calling him a traitor? The officer replied, "We follow orders." Elena stared at him. "And who do those orders protect?" There was no answer. Back on the streets. Despite the lies, many still believed in Daniel. People painted murals of him. Veterans marched in support. Songs were written. His story was everywhere. But at the same time, some turned against him. Angry voices appeared online. TV guests called him a fake hero. Daniel knew the plan was working. Divide the people. That night, Daniel met Elena in a quiet parking lot. She handed him a file. "What's this?" he asked. "Proof," she said. "The real mission reports. The ones they hid. I got them. But it wasn't easy." Daniel Carter stood on a rooftop overlooking the city. His face was calm, but his eyes held fire. In his hand, he held the broken medal, the one sent to him as a warning. They wanted him afraid, but instead, they woke something inside him. Elsewhere, Senator Clark's war room clerk watched news reports in silence. Public pressure was rising. Soldiers were speaking out. Protests were growing. An advisor entered, nervous. "Sir, another colonel resigned. Said she won't serve under liars." Clark lit a cigar. "Then we remind the world who writes the rules." He opened a sealed case and handed it to a man in uniform. "Find Carter," he said. "Bring him in, or take him out." Back to Daniel's apartment. Colonel Elena Rivers arrived with Mia. Daniel looked tired but focused. Elena dropped a file on the table. "This is it, the final piece." Inside were voice recordings, secret calls between generals and senators. Proof of cover-ups, lies, and manipulation. Mia whispered, "Once we release this, there's no going back." Daniel looked at both of them. "They already made their move. Now it's ours." Newsflash. Breaking the silence, that night, a video appeared online. Daniel Carter, in his military uniform, stood in front of the U.S. flag. Calm, honest, brave. "To the people watching this, I am not your enemy. I was trained to follow orders, but I was also trained to protect truth, even when it's hard. I've seen innocent lives lost, and I've seen powerful men rewrite that truth. Today I'm giving you the proof, not to destroy this country, but to help save its soul." Then, Mia uploaded all the files to a secure public archive. In one night, the system cracked open. Public response, unstoppable thousands marched in cities across the country. Veterans stood outside military bases, saluting Carter's photo. Children wore shirts with the words, "Truth is brave." A school was renamed, Daniel Carter Elementary, but not everyone was celebrating. At night, a black car followed Mia. A man broke into Elena's office. Daniel's name was added to a secret. List marked, active threat. Final showdown, military hearing. They couldn't arrest Daniel without backlash, so they summoned him for a closed-door hearing. Room 9C. Inside were generals, senators, and cold faces. Daniel entered wearing his full uniform. A general said, "Do you deny leaking classified material?" Daniel looked them in the eyes. "I don't deny anything. I revealed the truth. What you call classified, I call a crime." One senator growled, "You disobeyed direct orders." Daniel stepped closer. "You gave an order to strike civilians. You buried the dead in silence, and you used men like me to carry your shame." Then, something unexpected happened. Colonel. Elena walked in. Uninvited, she threw her badge on the table. "I stand with Carter," she said, "and I'm not alone." Behind her, 6 soldiers entered the room. Real heroes. Real voices. Each one placed their badge on the table, one by one. The room fell silent. 1 week later, public announcement. A special court ordered an investigation into Operation Echo. Several officers were suspended. Senator Clark resigned. The headlines read, "Truth wins. Daniel Carter cleared. honored for bravery. The president spoke on live television. In the end, it was not a bullet or a bomb that shook our system. It was the voice of a soldier who refused to lie. Year later, the sun was rising over Washington, D.C. Flags moved gently in the wind. A new statue stood in the center of a memorial park. It was a bronze figure of a soldier, standing tall, holding a notebook in one hand, not a weapon. The plaque read, "Truth has no rank." In honor of Sergeant Daniel Carter and all who spoke, when silence was safe at a small school in Virginia. Daniel Carter stood in front of a classroom full of young cadets. His uniform was gone. He wore a simple shirt with the words, "Lead with truth." He looked around the room. "These kids," he whispered to Mia, who was filming. "They're the future." One student raised a hand. "Sir, were you scared when they tried to stop you?" Daniel smiled gently. "Yes, every day. But being brave doesn't mean feeling no fear. It means standing anyway." Back at home, Daniel lived a quiet life now. He planted vegetables. He took long walks. He wrote a book. The title, Enemies in Uniform. The book became a bestseller, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. Mia Khan, now a star. Journalist Mia received an award for investigative journalism. When asked how she did it, she said, "I didn't write Daniel's story. I just helped the world hear it." She started a foundation for whistleblowers, people with truth but no power. The first person the foundation helped was a young pilot who refused an illegal strike. The system was changing. Slowly, but it was changing. Colonel Elena Rivers, retired but not silent. She now trained soldiers in ethics, not just tactics. She told them stories, not of war wins, but of hard choices. "Courage isn't pulling a trigger," she'd say. "It's saying no when the wrong man gives the order." Senator Clark reads, vanished from the headlines. No interviews, no book deals, no respect, only silence. And that, perhaps, was justice. A letter arrives. One morning, Daniel opened his mailbox, a small envelope, no name. Inside was a photo of the village. From Operation Echo, children playing. Homes rebuilt. Someone had written on the back, "Because you spoke, we live." Daniel's eyes filled with quiet tears. At Jake Thompson's grave, Daniel visited again. He sat on the grass, fingers on the stone. "We started as soldiers," he said softly, "but we became something else." He took out a small folded American. "Flag? Jake's flag." He placed it by the grave and whispered, "You died following orders. I lived because I broke them. I hope wherever you are, you understand." The wind answered with silence, but Daniel felt peace. The legacy begins. Schools began teaching a new unit, Ethics in War. A documentary titled The Man Who Spoke was made. Millions watched it. People debated, learned, and changed. But more important than headlines were hearts.